Have you ever seen the rain coming down on a sunny day?
I want to know.
Because I did today. I know that's not in the song, but
Can you show me?
yeah.
I want to know if there's rain like me. It's a raining man.
Rain Man's a good movie, actually.
Rain
It's
Man.
like got Dustin Hoffman, and it's like this
What
drama about two brothers.
Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Hefferman. Felicity Hefferman. Somebody made a post in Catholic Geeks about free-to-use editing software. And I was like, DaVinci Resolve by Blackmagic. And I was like, I was like, I promise it's not... Yes, it's like, I promise it's not evil. But if it turns out it is, I might be beholden to the entire Catholic Geeks Facebook group. If anybody paid attention, which I don't know if anyone did.
I'm sure someone did. Someone asked the question in the first place, didn't they?
True. I was like the third comment.
You know?
Oh.
I had an opportunity to plug our podcast to Tea with Tolkien as like the third reply on Twitter, and I didn't do it, and I regret it.
Yeah.
She was like, I'm running out of content to listen to. If you have a podcast that's halfway decent, drop it here. And
We
She
have
was
the bottom of the
even
barrel.
asking for requests. It wasn't actually
yeah.
just self-promotion out of nowhere like, hey, come visit our channel.
'Twas not unwarranted.
I should have done it. I was like busy working, and I'm like, I should probably get this done. But I should have just paused the work, done the plug, gone back to work.
It would have taken all of 23 seconds.
Well,
Yeah.
Tops.
it's going to take more than that because you have to craft the perfect, I'm not too full of myself, but still love myself enough to appreciate myself. Sort
It's
of.
like, I mean, I think this is
post.
pretty good. Post. That's what I would have done. But then I think I tend to undersell my projects.
You undersell your projects by not selling them at all.
Yes.
That
I
could
just
be
want
an
people
issue.
to appreciate what I do, but it turns out...
the guy who
You
went
have to tell
college
people that
for
it
marketing.
exists
Yeah.
in order for them to do it. And you have all this time on your hands. And you do not shamelessly promote our podcast everywhere. You aren't tweeting 500 times a day. Literally just go on Twitter and retweet people's hot takes that you agree with and tweet your shower thoughts because you're good at those.
Yeah, that's true. I can't remember the last time I sent a tweet, to be completely honest. It's been a while.
It was probably the last time you sent a tweet.
Like
about
of the
an
podcast.
episode.
The episode is out. Yeah, besides that, I don't think it's been a while.
You need to do real tweet.
Yeah.
Not just here we are tweet.
Yeah. I could start putting out shower thoughts.
I've been telling you to do this for like 2 months now.
Yeah, basically since we started the podcast. It took me about a month of that to set us up a Twitter. And then I only ever used it for posting episodes.
Do we still only have 2 followers that aren't us?
I haven't checked recently.
We do only have 2 followers that aren't us.
Shout out to you 2.
Brother
Brother.
Teresa.
Yep.
We love you, Brother Teresa.
Thank you.
And Bellator Society. You are the other people. Oh, we're drinking one for our
We
2
were
followers.
just simultaneously taking a drink.
Well, the thing is, it's a podcast, so at least one of us got to keep talking. Otherwise,
It's not true.
yeah.
Entirely not true. We could all have an awkward silence.
I've shamelessly gone back and edited out a few awkward silences.
Well, don't edit
But
that one out.
I still left a little piece of the silence in between to make it sound like a natural pause, so we sound like we're better
That's how
at
you
this.
do that.
That sounds like good editing, actually.
Yeah.
Making us sound better at this than we are is
Making me
that's what your job is.
try to edit the foot out of my mouth that occasionally occurs. Making me sound like a civilized human being.
If I were, which I am not,
Which I certainly am not.
I would certainly make it look as though I were.
Correct. I probably didn't look like a civilized human being as I was walking back from my walk earlier.
You certainly didn't look like a civilized human being when you walked downstairs.
No, I was quite drenched.
The whole front side of you was drenched.
And the back of me was dry. It was so bizarre.
It was very weird.
And it was funny. there have been a couple of times this week where I've been studying. I look out the window because I keep my window open, and it's like because it's nice out. And I'm like, oh, it's nice outside. Then I work some more. I look outside, and what the heck? It's snowing.
Yep.
Welcome to North Dakota.
Today
folks.
it was rain and a little bit of hail.
And then I looked over. It's like, oh, it's raining. That might explain the scent in the air that smells like spring's about to happen.
What was dumb is it
Not
was
a
like
bad smell either.
at first it was just one dark cloud that was raining on me. It was like moving in the exact path as I was walking.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
I was like, I felt like Eeyore. It's just a little black rain cloud just following me around. And then like
Winnie the Pooh was the little black rain cloud. Get it right.
Right, but Eeyore had the cloud following him. But yeah, no, it was funny because
it's trying to reduce that hypertonic solution that you have going on.
What's that?
You're a hypertonic solution because you
have very high salinity.
Yep. Try to get the rain out of it a little bit before I become
well, the rain is
sodic soil
back to a tonic solution.
Oh yeah. Don't want me to crust over like a sodic soil. And absolutely no one's going to understand what that means. And that's okay because I've forgotten it most
Sodic
myself.
soil, it's soil with salt in it. It's
yes.
evident in the name.
Don't worry, James. You're the salt of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
Causing everything to become infertile everywhere you
Nothing will grow over my grave.
But hey, at least it won't snow. The snow won't accumulate.
That's true.
And it won't be icy.
That's just where they'll dump all the snow.
Well, it's just sodium chloride. The
True.
freezing point depression isn't all that great.
True. But yeah, no, it was funny because when I was out walking, it was nice and warm, and then the clouds came, and then I was like, okay, this is fine. Started sprinkling. I was like, this is fine. Started raining harder. Then I felt like a little bit of hail and heard thunder. And this is all over the course of like 5 minutes.
This is fine.
Yeah, this is fine. Everything's fine. But I'm like, it's not snowing, so that was good. Although arguably,
don't jinx it.
Sorry.
I mean, it snowed yesterday.
It did.
It did.
I feel like there's going to be just a segment of the podcast from here on out where we talk about the weather.
Well, here's the weird thing.
Until it gets something normal, because in North Dakota it is seldom
But just think, it's going to be July and we're going to be talking about how hot it is.
Whoa, I'm sure. And humid. Don't forget humid.
Yeah, humid. But that's the funny thing. In other parts of the world, like, weather is just small talk because it barely ever changes.
Right.
Here, the weather is genuinely interesting. It is like there is actually something to talk about day to day.
Mm-hmm. Weather
That's
changes.
how the upper Midwest is.
Changes. I had a fun working day today.
I heard you moaning no, that was Colton moaning.
Never mind.
Our roommate moaning no from upstairs. I was like, oh, this sounds fun.
Oh, is he breaking production? Oh no. But I took my laptop outside on one of those spiderwebby chairs.
Oh yeah.
Sat on the back porch and smoked my pipe for 2 hours. So
Did you get out of your chair? Oh, you must have if you're down here.
No, he's still in that chair to this day.
Yeah, it's part of him now.
Well, I had it set up on the driveway initially, but I sank so low that my butt was on the driveway.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Because the driveway is very uneven.
Just imagine like a for those of you listening, just imagine like a dream catcher, but it's all bungee cords. That's the chair we're talking about.
That you can sit on.
Yes.
But it's very stretchy to the point if you have...
It's like one of those rope hammocks you have out in your front yard, except it's a chair and it's much stretchier.
It technically supports your weight.
I mean, technically.
That's a real technically in my case.
Yeah. But smoking pipe and doing code.
I had to change all of my stuff to light theme while I was outside because it was actually sunny. Programmers in general like to use dark mode because we value our eyeballs.
Yeah,
when you stare at a screen for 8+ hours a day, you can't have everything be white all the time.
Yeah, over time, the more I used computers coming to college, I was like gradually reducing my screen brightness.
Mm-hmm. The screen brightness was all the way up, and I still couldn't see stuff, so I had to change it to the bright themes, and I'm like, normally I would hate this, but because I'm
This is fine.
outside, it's fine. It's fine. I like
This
it.
works. We're okay with
Some
this.
of the older people at the company, and when we say older, we mean like 35.
Ah,
Right.
You still use the light theme because they're old curmudgeons in the programming world. And
it's like, oh, this reminds me of Windows 7 Vista. Or no, not even.
Windows 7
10?
Vista. You mean Windows 7 or Windows Vista? Which one?
Or XP.
Windows 7 or what was like Windows 95.
Those are
No, but I mean like
They're
going
very
farther
good.
back. Going farther back. That's when the light
was it
themes
Apple
are-
II?
Yeah. Or maybe it was Linux. I don't know.
Or was it the Enigma machine? That's what I was thinking of.
maybe it was the Sega Dreamcast too.
I've never seen themes this light since I was decoding Nazi messages for England. You know.
Yeah, that was all white.
Oh yeah. Goodness. We're
not talking about Dune.
No.
No.
We're talking about Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah, we're the Palladium Papists. I'm James.
I'm Nathan.
And I'm Riley.
And as Riley said, today's topic, we're talking about the anime series, or is it correctly?
Yes, it's
Yes.
anime.
Yeah, anime series Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah.
Of which Riley is the only one that has seen it.
I am
properly.
the
I
only
watched
one
a
who's-
few episodes with Riley.
I am generally speaking familiar with the overall premise and am mildly interested by it. But
It is. I think it's one. Most people would regard it as one of the most artistic anime shows out there. It's not like the most riveting plot. It's not the most story-driven, like great character development thing. But there's a lot of things about it that are just very intentional and artistic, because the guy who created this series, I forget his name all the time because it's Japanese and I don't speak Japanese.
Right.
His last name, or one of his names, is Watanabe. I know that much. But he has like his style for directing is a very like focused approach. He's not like this great story world building architect. He's like, I have a theme and I wanted to explore this theme, and that's what my show is going to be about.
Right.
So,
I guess.
get into it.
Yeah. Talk about the sort of the premise of the series. Where does it take place? Setting, that sort of
It
thing.
is set in the year 2071 with throughout our solar system. So they go through various. They are on Mars and Jupiter and Earth, and they're on a whole bunch of different planets. So they're kind of these two guys. One is named Spike Spiegel, and Jet Black is the other guy. They are bounty hunters. So their job is to go around and hunt down criminals, and that's how they get their money. So initially it's just those two. And Spike is this kind of, he's like the cool guy. So he wears, he's like this so aloof, but like still kind of nice, pleasant to be around guy. He wears a suit everywhere with like a real slim tie, and he like rolls up the sleeves of his suit coat, which is super weird.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine doing that.
I would not be comfortable. I cut the
it's a
circulation
space
off.
suit coat.
No, it's just a normal suit.
No?
Yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
have some space material it's made of.
They
that
don't.
makes
They
rolling
don't
up?
actually spend that much time in space.
No, it's planet hopping and stuff.
Yeah,
I
planet
imagine.
hopping. But yeah, so his story is basically that he used to work for this giant solar system crime syndicate, and he ran away from it because he didn't want to deal with that anymore. And in the process of it, his lover Julia kind of got left behind because they had hatched a plan to get out together, but she had a job that she had to do for this organization, so she kind of like got left behind and they got separated.
Sure.
So Spike his life has kind of been dictated by that to this point. Like his entire existence revolves around trying to find more information about where she is. And Jet is sort of designed to be the polar opposite of Spike. He's a calm, level-headed, like fairly buff guy, so he's like contrasted in. Spike is kind of like he's very slender. He's tall.
Mm-hmm.
Jet is more short and squat.
Is he kind of more straight laced too?
Yeah, he was a former police officer.
Oh,
so,
right.
Yeah, he's much more straight laced and less willing to bend the rules than Spike is.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jet owns the ship that they both use called the Bebop, hence the name, and the other two characters that they kind of pick up along the way are Faye Valentine, who's this lady that they encounter working at a casino, and she like tries to assassinate Spike, and she was like contracted to bring him in or something for the crime peoples.
Mm-hmm.
And they basically like say, hey, it's time to get out, you should come and join us and do bounty hunting stuff. So that happens. And also Edward, who is this really eccentric kid who is not
Edward. And I was like, that's what me and Nathan looked at each other. We're like,
Edward, really eccentric kid. Okay. So, we're referring to a character from the only other anime show we've seen completely thus far, which is Full Metal Alchemist.
Yeah.
Anyway, you can continue.
Fans of this series will know what we're talking about.
Yes. Edward is a very talented hacker who kind of got left behind by his father. And he got separated from his father at some point, which we will talk about later because it's relevant.
Do they do a Darth Vader in that
Actually,
show?
I think there's a girl and her dog in this series, is there not?
Well, Edward identifies as a girl, but is a boy.
Oh,
so,
that I could not tell.
Yeah.
Oh.
And Edward has a dog, yes.
Okay.
Named Ein. Ein is a corgi. Ein is adorable.
And Doge.
Yes. It's not a Doge.
Doggo?
It's a corgi.
Ah, right. Corgi's its own thing.
Doges are Shiba Inus.
Oh, right.
Yes. So, the primary theme of the show that is thoroughly explored in its course is like attachment to your past. So all of these characters have these unhealthy obsessions with their past that they can't really or voluntarily choose not to get away from. So in Spike's case, like I talked about, is Julia. I mean, he hasn't made contact with her for an extremely long time. He has no idea where she is, if she's even still alive, and is basically in a perpetual feud with this guy named Vicious, who is kind of one of the higher-ups at the crime syndicate.
And rather vicious.
Despite
what the name might suggest.
So
okay.
In Jet's case, it's kind of his connections with the police from the past. So like they have like one of the episodes, they have a job that they go and interact with the police force for, and he's like, why don't you come back and work for the police again? And
we could use someone like you in the force.
Pretty much. And so he thinks about it, but he's kind of made an attachment with his new family in the Bebop, so he's like, no thanks. So he's kind of the first guy who sort of rejects his past and stops obsessing over it and moves on. Faye, in classic trope form, has lost her memory and has no idea about anything before like a few months ago at the time. So
she's obsessed with getting that
She is
back.
obsessed with figuring out what is going on with her life. And like they find this videotape early on that they have to go and find a VCR for. Because in 2071, those are antique relics that no one has.
In 2020, those are relics.
2020,
those are antiques.
Never mind 2071. But
yeah.
That should be a little bit of a hint as to what her past is. And Edward, like I also said already, his thing is finding his dad. Because he got separated. And he doesn't really know what to do apart from just hang around in the Bebop and be very weird, as Edward do. So, I can't really say much about the plot because they're really isn't one. I mean, there is.
It seems very episodic.
It is. Like
a planet of the week sort of thing.
A planet of the day, more like.
Yeah.
But they call the episodes sessions. I mean, which is reference to the jazz like recording session.
Sure.
But it also functions as an accurate descriptor of what the episodes are like. Because they are all very one-off for the most part. Like, it's all very self-contained. The thread of narrative is wrapped up within each episode. There's little carryover for the most part. So in that respect, there's not really much to talk about. But the main character arcs involve Spike, of course, trying to find Julia again, which he eventually does towards the end. But he's kind of in a place where he's kind of the one who dictates what jobs they go and take. So he will pick like the most unnecessarily risky and stupid things to go chase after that don't even have the most fantastic rewards ever, simply because they're dangerous and he doesn't care. So he's kind of like,
oh, this sounds exciting.
Well, it's more like, I am so cool and aloof that I don't even care about my own life. Like, I just want to do this because it's the only thing that still makes me feel alive. So that's kind of what his arc looks like, more or less, is he's like progressively doing more dangerous things, and he eventually goes after Vicious at the very end of the show. And he's like, it's an obvious setup, like he's obviously going to get trapped and killed if he goes. And like the thing he says, this quote is, I think, really powerful. I think I have it somewhere here.
We're doing quotes besides just off the top of our heads, repetition, ladies and gentlemen. We're
branching
developing.
out.
We're developing.
As he types the quote into
Google.
his Google search to find it, because we're prepared like that.
Baby steps, Nathan.
Hey, you know, I was planning on doing a different show entirely as of yesterday.
Oh, right.
Oh.
I realized that I had very unprocessed thoughts about it. I wasn't ready to discuss
Which
it.
one was that?
Darling in the Franxx.
I have no idea what that is.
I've never heard of it.
No, most people haven't heard of it. You might be familiar with the meme from which I decided to watch the show. The weaklings die, big deal.
Okay.
That's from that show.
I see.
That is also the reason I started watching the show. So I'm like, who is that? I want to figure out who that character is. But that's a show I want to do an episode on sometime.
Okay.
It's quite interesting.
All right.
Yeah. So in this last interaction he has with Faye before he goes to fight Vicious, he's like, I'm not going there to die. I'm going there to see if I'm really alive. So he's like, in this sort of play behind this cool exterior is this deep-seated numbness from everything. So he's like so attached to this idea that when this idea is shattered, he has nothing left to live for, basically.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, if I go there and I see that I'm not really alive anymore, then what's the point in even going on?
Mm-hmm.
Jet kind of has the most nice resolution of everyone, I would say. He's kind of like the most willing to detach himself from his past, because he kind of already has at the beginning.
Yeah, and he's trying to move on already.
Yeah, he's made the effort from the outset, so he's not like irrationally chasing it anymore.
And it's kind of sort of the natural conclusion of that effort would be his arc.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing really drastic that he does that I can recall.
Sure.
It's like eventually he's just kind of arrived at a place of peace with where his life is going. Faye spends a lot of time trying to regain some semblance of what her memories were. So like this videotape shows her as a child, and there's like some context clues that show some very antiquated technology, which leads her to believe that she eventually discovers that she was like cryogenically frozen for 100 years after a freak accident. So she's actually like 120 years old.
So like Link in Breath of the Wild.
Sort of.
Except minus a lot of things.
Correct. Or what's another one? There's Forever Young.
Yeah.
Frozen. Anyway, Rip Van Winkle.
She like goes to the place where this recording was taken in the video and like sits there for a little and like meets this lady who was like someone she knew back then. I don't know.
Heckin'
old lady is like, I recognize you.
What?
And that's sort of how she finds a resolution to her
reconnecting with
angst.
her past.
Yeah. It's like draws it closed. Like
she knows where she came from.
Connected the dots. She found out where she came from. She found out why she's there.
So now she can know where to go from here.
Yeah. And Edward is kind of they're hopping some planets and they eventually get back to this one spot and they very magically run into Edward's dad. And it's like the episode sort of consists of Edward deciding whether to stay with the crew or go home to dad. And it's like he sort of acknowledges what being on the Bebop has done good for him, but also decides to ultimately go back home.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't want to.
Still needs to grow up.
Still needs to, it's still a kid, really. So, yeah. It's kind of the overview of the character arcs. I guess the other thing that I really like about this show is the masterful blending of like 3 radically different aesthetics.
Yeah.
The jazz space cowboy
all
at once is like.
I remember when you described the show to me initially, I was like, what?
How could that possibly work? But they managed to
it's
do
like
it.
Peanut butter and pickles.
And it works really magically. Like jazz and space, or jazz and cowboys, or the space cowboys, any one of those combinations would like feasibly work. But when you try to get all 3 of them at once, it seems implausible. And in reality, the cowboy aesthetic is not really that present.
Yeah. I think
like,
is it more like an attitude statement?
Well,
I mean, they're bounty hunters riding around the last open range,
frontier.
You know, the last frontier. So there is that element to a lot of space stories, actually.
Isn't there a movie called Space Cowboys?
No, Cowboys and Aliens.
No, but I think there was a Space Cowboys movie, and it kind of sucked. I remember watching it with my dad when I was little. Anyway,
there's also
Cowboys and Aliens sucked. I do remember that.
Yeah,
it was weird but kind of fun.
Anyway,
and there's like the televised bounty hunter information program is 2 people dressed up as cowboys talking about the bounties for this week.
It's like the kids in the high school on Spider-Man Homecoming, or anyway, reading the announcements,
pretty much, except a bit more comical.
Howdy, here's the bounties we got for you this week. And it's all everybody's human in the series. Any other?
Except for Ein, who's a dog.
Right. But I mean, like, there aren't any, like...
Yeah, there's no aliens.
Okay, cool.
It's like a reason.
There's like an episode where they kind of encounter this sludge thing, but it's just like a microorganism or something.
Sure.
That they think might be an alien.
An invertebrate.
But yeah, like, it has 2 of the greatest theme songs I've ever encountered.
They're pretty good.
The opening theme is like this absolutely rambunctious jazz tune.
It sounds like you would think by listening to it was like the opening to like a Bond film or something.
Yeah,
it's like that style of jazz.
And the ending is like more of a jazz rock sort of thing, but it's the theme is used like in pertinent moments in the series. Like, I don't know.
It's not. Would you say, in terms of recycled anime theme music?
No,
not really.
Not really. I mean, it's used at very key moments that have to do with. The title is "The Real Folk Blues." That's what the name of the song is. So like, there's points where Spike is feeling real? Very blue after finding something out, and he's like, "Real sad boy hours." So
nice.
he becomes. They'll play that song as sort of a underscore to that.
In the subtitles just say sad boy noises.
Sad real sad boy noises.
Sad boy noises.
Yeah. And overall, just the visual appeal of the show is fantastic. Like,
it's well animated.
It was made in 1999, so it's before a lot of recent advancements in animation technology. So it was, I mean, there's a lot more digital drawing these days than there was back then, but it was still
a lot of it's composited, hand drawn stuff from what I saw.
Yeah.
Which is really technical,
done.
But
yeah. So yeah, that's a nice little segue into our transcendentals.
Yeah. So I guess we've sort of talked about the aesthetics. What are some other elements of beauty, I guess, in the series?
I don't know. I would say some of the space shots are very nice. As you like, there are this again sign of this aesthetic blending between the.
But it's pretty, from what I've seen, it's pretty faithful to what space actually looks like.
Yeah.
In the way they animate it.
It's sort of like, it's not totally devoid of junk. Like, it's cluttered, but.
Because humans have been in space for a while.
Yeah. At this point, but it's like.
Isn't there like a ring of garbage around the Earth at this point?
Yeah, there's a ring of garbage around lots of stuff.
Yeah.
But it all fits together very coherently. It's not like this clean cut, picturesque thing. It's real and it's dirty.
I think there was an episode too where like, was it Spike goes, the one I watched where Spike goes to Earth and meets like this guy who used to be his boss, and he's got all these old Earth aircraft that he's fixing up, like an old space shuttle. I think is one of them, something like that. That was kind of cool. Which at the time that would have been like, space shuttles haven't really been a thing for a while, but at the time.
But in 1998, it was
very much
a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, this show is almost as old as us.
Yeah.
We were just
very,
slightly
very
older
close
than it.
Yeah.
Of course, it was in production while we were in production, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Concurrently, I suppose one could say. Anyhow.
Perhaps not. Who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So I guess, but like the...
apart from... It's just... the main thing about... For the beauty point is that the myriad aesthetics are very well blended. And there's also some very, like... Their use of color is very, very strong. Like, there's a flashback scene where Spike is, like... They're going back to a job he and Julia were doing back in the day. And it's like this sort of muted blue, like everything is blue except for there's a few things in the scene that are red, like her lipstick and this rose that's sitting in the ground getting rained on. So it's this like really, really cool contrast of this just very dark and muted colors with these pertinent symbolic objects. So yeah, the use of color is very cool.
Nice. Goodness. To be honest, it's there's not a ton. There's not like a because like you said, there's not a whole lot of plot.
It's kind of a tragic story. I mean,
set in a more kind of gritty and down to earth kind of real people, real problems sort of thing.
Yeah.
There's not like big overarching conflicts being solved per se, besides like the crime syndicate thing, I suppose.
And that doesn't really get solved. It's like a looming threat that they know they can't defeat because they're 4 people against an entire organization. But I don't know. Some of the goodness comes in, I think, Faye's character development.
Sure.
Because she's initially like a very headstrong, stuck up, my life is about me sort of person. But she comes to realize that she comes to be like a caretaker for Ed over the course of the
Sure,
of
yeah.
the show.
Sure.
Because Ed's a kid and is like lacks direction. She doesn't like totally boss him around and
Right.
say, "Oh, you're a moron for doing that," but gives him some gentle guidance. She generally just
Mentorship.
becomes a softer and kinder person through that. So, truth. Now that's where there's a lot to talk about. I mean, we've hit on some of those things, but it, by way of inverse, makes a very strong point about attachment to your past and to not get sucked down the rabbit hole of living the life you used to live that's different than the one you have now.
Yeah.
Like
Pertinent to us former college students in the room.
Yes, indeed. Like there's this little trailer at the end of each episode that says "See you, Space Cowboy," but the very last episode it changes to "You're gonna carry that weight."
Oh, dang.
Yeah, it's just like hits you with that.
Bye.
Bye. Show's done. So like, you're going to carry the weight of your past if you don't make peace with it and acknowledge it, and you're going to end up like Spike did if you don't do what all of the other characters did and find a resolution and choose a path forward.
I see.
What else? It kind of makes a clear picture that you can be a family with people who aren't your family.
Yeah.
People that, like, as if you share a common goal, you can come together with people and live a life with them that you can be proud of and have some happiness and joy in. It's not always going to be easy. In fact, it's going to be very hard most of the time.
Families are difficult.
Families are difficult. You won't always get along, and you'll eat canned food a lot because you spent all of your money doing stupid things. That is the perpetual problem. Like, every episode opens with, "We don't have any food. Who ate all the food? Who wasted this food? Who wasted all the money on this stupid thing?"
And so they get a new job, and it's
so they get a new
dangerous and crazy, and stuff ensues.
Stuff ensues, indeed.
That's our summary of the show. Stuff ensues.
Kind of. What else? What are the true things? Here we will explore true facts about Cowboy Bebop.
That's how the Bebop do.
I had one more point I was going to talk about, and I cannot remember what it was.
I guess I'm not familiar enough with the show to be able to provide a reminder.
Neither am I.
This is why I
only
like
know
doing
it by
things we've all
reputation.
watched before,
Yeah.
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
read, or played.
Yeah.
I'll try and fix that next time.
Well,
when I
we're working on.
We've talked to you enough where we're pretty familiar with a lot of Metroid's stuff.
Well, yes, but also I have an idea of what I want to cover next week, but I'm not going to tell you right now.
Well, you'll find out on next episode of the Palladian Papists.
Yeah.
So I guess we get to move on to, I think, let's see, Unity, I think, is the next one.
Yeah. We touched on that a bit too.
Yeah.
Yeah, how
I
all
should
the
have segued
elements come
into that
together,
one
and
next.
also the family theme.
Mhm.
Both of those kind of
The cohesiveness.
yes.
Yes.
And while the individual episodes don't come to a cohesive whole, really,
They don't come to a narrative whole. They come to a
aesthetic and character
aesthetic
whole, I
and
suppose.
character development whole.
Sure. So it's episodic, but yet there's those uniting threads throughout the episodes.
The uniting threads don't necessarily like create suspense and draw you through.
As with a plot, but more
Right.
like character features.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little different. It's got a lot of depth to it. You can watch it just as a sort of fun, lighthearted space adventure show, or you
Mhm.
can really, really dig deep into it and spend your entire life analyzing every little detail.
We're not going quite that far, but we're
Not
kind of going
quite.
halfway.
Yeah.
We're spending our entire podcast talking about it as opposed to an entire life.
Yes.
Of course, depends on what life we're talking about. If it was like a mayfly or something, then it would be about an entire life.
It would be several lifetimes, in fact.
Yeah, if you included watching the show.
If you included watching the show, yeah.
Cool. Do we get all of them? We got truth, goodness,
we got all of them.
Yeah,
unity.
yeah.
We hit them all.
There's
Sweet.
only 4 of them.
Cool. I guess anything else we want to cover with the show?
Nope. I think that about covers it.
Yeah.
Cool. Coolness, goodness.
You should watch it. It's cool.
Pretty neat. Was it on Netflix or was it Crunchyroll?
I'm sure it's on Crunchyroll, but it's on Funimation too.
Oh, Funimation, sure.
Okay.
If you want to give it a watch. We, on the other hand, are on Apple Podcasts,
Spotify, Google Play,
and Stitcher. And you can follow us on Facebook or
And
Twitter.
which James will be more active on.
Theoretically, yes. I will be more active on Twitter. I suppose I can afford to experiment because we don't have that large of a following.
Yes.
I guess in terms of numbers. I mean, Brother Teresa,
That's a powerhouse of a follower. Right
that's
there,
plenty of
so.
size right there.
Yeah.
But
Plenty of all caps.
yeah. Yeah. But yeah, send us a like, retweet, what have you. Follow us on whichever platform you prefer to listen to your podcasts.
Business email.
Palladium.
Plug that.
I need to check that
Never
email.
You need to have an exit script.
Yeah,
PalladiumPapists@gmail.com.
there you have it. And check out our
Tweet
website.
at us with your opinion. Say, hey, you guys suck at doing a podcast. Get
Hey.
good.
And we'll swoon over the feedback.
And we will
gotten at
swoon the
all.
fact that we were
We've got
engaged with
human
by our
attention.
audience.
This is as close as we'll get to love for our podcast. But yeah, thank you guys for listening, and I guess we will talk to you on the next episode. Bye.
Bye-bye.